What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be having a look at a build that Zest did a lot at the past Home Story Cup in, replay went without me, in all of his games. We saw it against Hero Marine, against TY a couple of times. So I have one replay which will show the build order by itself against the AI Very Easy, who plays Zerg. I will have one game, actually I have 2 games of Zest doing it, and that's it. So not a single game of me in action, but Zest is probably a little bit better than me, so I think it will be good. So let me talk about the idea behind this build to start with. It's a 2-gate blink opening that starts with core before Nexus and Adept and Sentry as the first 2 units. Then you throw down the Twilight Council, and from there on out you just try to defend everything and try to get a little bit of an eco lead. You have a lot of opportunities to do damage. You have a lot of opportunities to end game. So I think it's a fantastic build, and so does Zest apparently. So let's go right into it. It just starts with a standard core before Nexus opener. For the people who are not aware how that works, just get your 15 Pylon, 16 gate, 17 gas, I guess, and we scout. After our 16 gate we send out our scout, just making sure there's a barracks at home. Well, in this case because we're playing a Zerg. I mean, we can't really scout a barracks. I will give more info about the scouting with this build once we actually watch a replay in which Zest plays a Terran. So we get 20 Cybercore, 20 Nexus, we get a 20 first probe, and then we build a pylon, which we build downstairs, so at our natural, and we make sure that it is possible to wall with this pylon. Okay, so either our first pylon is downstairs or our second pylon is downstairs, but we need to be able to wall. We get a 20, after we get our pylon at 21, we get a Assimilator, which should be either 21 or 22. I'm gonna go ahead and call that was a 22 Assimilator. Once our Cybercore finishes, you see we'll be able to get a very, very fast Adept out. It starts at 2 minutes, and when you play Nexus before core, usually it starts at 2:08. So this means you're gonna have a lot less trouble against any kind of early Reaper shenanigans. Now, what to do with this Adept, I'll tell more once we're in an actual game of PvT, because I can explain it with the scouting. But Zest actually kept this Adept at home 90% of his game, so that's completely fine as well. Now, once your first Adept finishes, you should have enough gas for your Sentry to start, which you can Chrono Boost, you don't have to. I do it. I like to get it fast. You can also put one more Chrono Boost on probes. You started your Warpgate together with your Adept, by the way, so you just get Adept, Sentry, continuously building probes, and then once gas allows, after your Sentry finishes, or after you started your Sentry, you can start your Twilight Council. Now, the first gas you spend after the Twilight Council will be into a Stalker, but not before you get a gate in the wall, so that should be around 255, 254, even at 3 minutes is fine. You just want your gateway to finish once Warpgate is done, and gateway takes 46 seconds, so your Warpgate at 54 seconds. If you start your gate at that time, so I guess at 3:07 would also still be fine. So you can immediately warp in 2 Stalkers once your Warpgate finishes. One from this gate, one from this gate. Now, it's a very straightforward build. You never really stop producing probes. In total, you put 2 Chrono Boost on the Twilight Council. You get 3 gate units from the gateway before your Warpgate finishes, and those are basically you get every unit once. They're even in the they're not in the correct order actually. You get Adept, Sentry, Stalker, and then your Warpgate finishes. You warp in 2 Stalkers. Now, the moment your Twilight finishes, you should have exactly 150 gas. Get your blink. Like I said, we chrono it twice, not more than twice. And now, something that's important with this build, 2 things. One is the scouting with the Sentry, which you see we just did. I'll actually push back to that moment. Depending whether you chrono boosted or not, it should be around 315 or 325. No, yeah, 325. Depending on if you chrono boosted or not. I chrono boost, so I'll have it early. Once again, I'll tell you guys what to scout for with this hallucination once we're in a real game. For now, let's just focus on the build order. Our third pylon, we put it in this area, which every map has a space like this, close to where you take your third base. You put it to the dead space. This means that the area towards your natural base is going to be hard to fly through for the Terran player, right? You can't fly through this space. Your Nexus is going to be here. You can put either a probe or an Adept here and something else here. That means you can just put your units over here. So your main base has a little more defense. Otherwise, you don't know where the medevac will come from. It's very important, of course, to know that. After we build our Stalker and gas allows, we get our robotics facility. And then around 54, once our Warpgate finishes, and after we warp in our 2 Stalkers. That's the way I like to do it. Some people get their third before they warp in the Stalkers. I like to get my Stalkers a little more safety. Allows me to get that 4th and 5th Stalker a little earlier as well. So I prefer that. So I warp those 2 in. Then I wait 100 minerals and I get my third base. Now, this is the basic setup of the build, right? We're getting our third gas. We're going into 2 gates, Robo, Blink. And this is from this point on you kind of start reacting, so we'll get more into that once again once we're in the other replay. You might want to get another pylon here so you can warp in at this spot. Like I said, have your probe patrolling this area, have your adept patrol this area. If you take a look at my vision, I can see anything coming towards my natural right now, unless it comes from this angle, which is an old angle, a very old angle. Another thing you could do is you could put your sentry in this little corner, as your sentry isn't that important. And then you really could have your stalkers on the ramp without ever having to worry about anything entering your base. Now, if you're playing against a gas first, most of the time the first possible time they enter your base is around 420. So that would be around now. If it's a barracks before a gas, that probably gets booted to about 440, 445, as that usually delays the factory. Now, after we get this pylon, we stay on our 2 gates, we did our warp in, we get our forge ASAP. Once this finished, we probably want to get an observer out, depending whether... Actually, we always want to get at least 1 observer out, but if we don't see... if it's not Banshee, we probably start with 1, just rally it across the map. If it is Banshee, we probably get to keep both of them at home, 1 in our natural, 1 in our main. The moment our forge finishes, we want to start our armor upgrade, and the moment our blink finishes, we want to start our charge. Now, at this point, you can start adding gates. You don't add all of them at the same time, at least I prefer not to, especially if you're playing against an aggressive 2-base Terran. So whether that's 3 racks or 5 racks, you don't really need to add them all at once. Not very necessary, just add them piece by piece. If you play against a 3cc, you could get a lot more probes first and then throw down 4 or 5 gates at the same time. Probably get a second forge against that as well, but it's not... Against a 2-base Terran, I prefer putting them down a little bit like this, you know, not 5 at once, because it means you most likely have a very long probe path. Now, on this economy, you kind of want to go up to 56, 57 workers until you see a 3rd base from the Terran. It should be very easy for you to spot a 3rd base as you have observers, and you also have the ability to scout with hallucinations. I already sent out my 2nd hallucination. It's over here, not really seeing anything, but you can scout twice and get a lot of information from those hallucinations. Sometimes, of course, you might want to keep it in case it's an early push, just for the Guardian Shield, at least your 2nd one. Your 1st one you almost always want to use, because you really need to see what your opponent is up to. You go up to 8 gates from this setup, and from there on out you just start reacting. But this is your standard setup. Against basically everything you want to basically do this. Perhaps against 3cc you want to get a couple more probes, but against everything else you want to do it exactly like this. Just make sure you chrono boost your armory, or your forge, and chrono boost your Twilight Council. You can even get a Templar Archive, so you can warp in 2 High Templar before his first push hits. First peak push of the Terran usually hits around 630, 640, 645, something like that, so perfectly in time with my Templar, and you can get a good supply count. Let's take 650 as a benchmark, so you guys can see what I have there. I have 19 Zealots, 5 Stalkers, 1 Sentry, 1 Adept, 59 workers. And I have 1 Archon morphing. I also have +1, I have +2 on the way, and I have Charge and Blink. So, of course also 3 Observers, that's just for vision. Yeah, getting a little vision with Pylons pylons, 1 or 2 observers, 1 observer over here, which isn't even in surveillance mode, but this is the standard layout of the build. Now, we're gonna go into some variations from, you know, what can you do from here? I have 2 variations. I have one which I think is rather greedy, and I have one which, in this game, Zest takes a lot of damage and still somehow managed to make this work, so I was very impressed. I kind of want to show that replay. Now this is the variation which is a little greedy, which I wouldn't really recommend on smaller maps. But Thunderbird is such a massive map, very difficult to push on, that here it's probably fine. Same on King's Cough, probably fine on King's Cough, perhaps even on Acropolis. So that's 3 of the 7 maps where this is at least a possibility. Now, you see Zest getting a Pylon and his gateway, and then the gateway scout. Now something that I find very important to scout for is whether it's gas first or whether it's barracks first. Now, in this case it's barracks first. How can you see that? Barracks first, once his barracks finishes, he has about 60 gas mined. If it's gas first, he has about 100 gas mined when his barracks finishes. Also, this barracks with barracks first finishes at 127. And with gas first, it finishes around 132. So that's a different. Now this is of course for the higher level guys. On the lower level, this kind of reads are very difficult to do because your opponent might just make his barracks 10 seconds late. If you do your build correctly, however, I guarantee you, you're gonna be fine. So don't worry too much. Let's continue. Cybercore before Nexus. Gets a 20 Nexus, 21st probe. He blocks with a pylon. Alright, this actually is an interesting piece of information. Now you might be saying, hey Kevin, I thought you said you always want to put the second pylon on the low ground. This is true, except if you scout barracks first. So if you scout barracks first, it's still possible for the Terran to do a 2 Hellion play, but it hits extremely late because your factory is super delayed and your reactor is delayed. So it's not good, and thus it's not common. And even if it was common, you would still be able to hold with this opener. So if you scout barracks first, it's fine to build your second pylon in your main base. Maybe on this map you can block the Reaper spot with it, but on other maps perhaps you want some extra scouting on the edges. This is of course the higher level players. Always make sure that there's a CC, it's very important to see. Get into the gas. Adept. Straight Sentry. Now, as you see, against barracks first, he always leaves his Adept at home, which I think is the correct call. With barracks first, the Reaper is a little faster, and most of the time they have a Marine as well. I'm not sure why Hero Marine doesn't have a Marine this time, but usually they also build a Marine. So sending your Adept across the map won't do too much and just kind of sucks for you. Zest trying his best to get that Reaper. Here comes the Twilight Council, followed up by a Stalker. Now, remember the Pylon of the third, in this case, could be built over here. You can build the Nexus here, perhaps have your Adept here. And in this case, your main is totally blocked off from any kind of aggression from the Terran, which means you can leave your Stalkers over here. If you see anything fly to your main, move your Stalkers over there, and you're probably gonna have Blink soon. So that's gonna be completely fine. Oh, there goes the hallucination. Now what is Zest scouting for? He wants to see whether it's Banshee, whether it's 3cc, is it 111? It could also be 3 Rex, of course, you want to be aware of that. What you can do against 3 Rex, by the way, is you could throw down a very fast Robo Bay and just play 2 base Colossus into a single or double Forge. You don't want to get a very fast third against 3 Rex most of the time. So, just as I'm not going to go too deeply into that because it's extremely uncommon for people to play 3 Rex, but that's a good reaction. So, here comes the Nexus. You see Zest actually builds it before he warps in the 2 Stalkers. That's fine. That's fine, boys. I'm not going to fight with him over that. The way he moves, he knows no drop can hit until at least 20 seconds from now, so he's not too afraid. Now, like I mentioned, you see this? He has this little line. It's complete line of vision, and he feels super comfortable just leaving all of his units over here. It's like, oh, no way something's gonna happen into my main, because he has the full vision. Now, here comes the 2 mine drop. Let's see how Zest deals with it. Blink finishes at around 5 minutes, sends a second hallucination out, has an observer in position. Now something you want to do, if you see your opponent has a medevac, you don't want to be on the edges with your Stalker. You want to be over here, and then when he flies in, you blink under it, bang. Free medevac, free mines. So here we go. Oh, he didn't blink under it, but he still... Oh, actually, it doesn't get the medevac. No, this wasn't the greatest. Could have done that a little better, Zest, but once again, we won't shoot him for it. No. You see he gets the armor upgrade. Should be starting to charge relatively soon as well. Of course, in a real game, it's not as easy as when I do it against the AI. So you see him float a little bit of money every now and then. You see him not building his gates as fast. But you see he builds them piece by piece. He doesn't go all at once. Now, this is something I do want to talk about. It's the move outs with the Stalker. Usually, what I would suggest, until you're very comfortable with the build, just keep your Stalkers at home. Until you know exactly what the Terran can and can't do, just keep your Stalkers at home, alright? Don't build too many, build 5, 6 Stalkers, just keep them at home. If you feel very comfortable with the build and you're like, hey, I kind of want to do that, start moving out with the Stalkers. But this is a recipe for floating thousands of minerals, a recipe for losing all your Stalkers. So it's just a recipe for disaster. And also, you have a good chance that a Liberator shows up or a second mine drop, which, you know, you didn't manage to scout because you don't play this game 15 hours a day like Zest. You're just gonna die to it. It's gonna be frustrating. Just leave them at home, alright? We're gonna pretend like he left them at home, just focus on what he's doing. And most importantly, focus on what info he's getting. So he's not sending any of the observers across the map. That is because he's moving with these Stalkers. He knows that there's no Banshee, so it would be completely safe to send an observer across the map. Maybe he wanted to get vision first, but the second observer I think definitely should have moved across the map. No. Here he is, trying to look for a third base. Well, that wasn't a very committed effort. Oh, there we go. Looks for a third base. Might even leave the Stalker there for a bit. Then sees that there's a CC building over here. And this should immediately... Let's see when he sees it. Okay, he sees it right now. This should trigger a response of immediately getting extra gases. And there we go. One gas goes down. And he should also get this one. Now... This is a response that I think you can only do on longer maps, as I was talking about. So instead of going into Templar Archives, what he does, he actually throws down the second robotics facility, a second forge, and a Robo base. So he's going all out on tech and upgrades, because he knows any kind of push that Hero and Reem will do on this map will hit very late. It's gonna hit upper ramp, which is difficult to fight. And also he already has a third base, so how all-in can it really be? The answer is not extremely all-in, so this is a good play if you have all these three things. So you see a third CC, it's a long map, and there's a little bit of a ramp. So King calls this map, perhaps Acropolis, like I mentioned, 3 maps, at which this is a viable response. Other maps, please don't do it, you will die. While you build your Robo, your second robotics facility and your Robo Bay, a thing you can do is build a prism, and then when your opponent does move out, you can send the prism in the main. It's always good. Another thing you can do is you can fake that you have Templars in the prism, but then first you need to have an opponent that played against Templars in the prism fall too far. So, it's disastrous. Moving back. And in this game I think he barely stays alive. But he does stay alive, so that's nice. Like I said, probably only viable on this map. And from there on out, what you want to do is just get a lot of Stalkers, you get double upgrades. We're just going to rush this fight, but from here on out it's impressive how he holds, but I think the general idea behind it is rather visible already at this point. You know, just keep pumping out Colossus. If you see Vikings, you probably add Storm. If you see Liberators, you probably want to add some Tempest. And then once he gets Vikings, once again you add Storm. So that should be pretty clear. Now we could go into details here about this game, but it's not part of the build or the tutorial. So let's move on to the next one. Now the second game is a game against TY, where instead of playing a single forge, he plays 2 forge. Now once again, I wouldn't recommend this unless you are feeling very comfortable with it and it's a little bit of a larger map. On most small maps, you just stay on 1 forge, you get into Storm afterwards. But But the way that Zest plays here is also kind of cute. So I just want to show it. This is one of the ways you can actually play, even with one forge for a longer time. But it's a little bit better with 2 forges. Let's dive into it. Well, in this case, I believe TY opened gas first. No, he didn't. It's barracks first, so I didn't say anything. He does build the gate on the low ground, so his second pylon can go over here. We'll be able to hide the tech a bit better. Has a nice little wall already, or at least the start of a wall, which is fantastic, of course. Low ground Nexus. Hides a probe, which is kind of stupid, because there should be something coming out. Oh. Dice, bunker on the way. Oh, all this stuff doesn't matter. Actually does send the Adept across the map this time. Probably because he delayed the Reaper from moving out for a bit with his probe. So I think that might be one of the reasons. But I could be wrong. Now, build remains the same. Second gate, Twilight Council. Hallucination Scout. This time around, what do we see? What do we see? Oh, 1-1-1 once again. We see mines being built, so most likely going to be a mine drop. Probably should be getting ready for that. Where's Zest? Oh, even has a battery. It's a little odd, but all good. Builds a Nexus. Moves across the map with his Stalkers and his Sentry, which is a little ballsy in my opinion, but we'll allow it for now. Has some vision on the stars. If you take a look at his vision, it's actually pretty good on this side once again. So the only true threat should be to his main base. So his Stalker should be positioned here. Now he saw the medevac fly out. Oh, just gonna chase it with 1. Sees the medevac, and will most likely get this medevac, or at least not take any damage from this. And the only problem was that Zest didn't see there was also a mine in his natural, which kills 10 workers, or well, 9 workers, and a mine killed 1 worker in the main. So if we have a look at the situation now, this is very bad. This build is designed around having rather low eco in the early game, and this is not good. Losing 10 probes never is good, but especially with this build, it feels pretty terrible, let me tell you. As a response to that, usually you want to do something to get back in the game. In this case, he builds 2 forges rather than just 1. It's like, if I can survive to 1-1, I'm going to have a way better time from there on out, you know? Maybe I can get 2-2 and do a lot of damage. Now, another thing that Zest does very well is that whenever he scouts a 3rd base, this is a really cool reaction. He does this a lot. So he sees, oh, that's very late barracks, that's odd. And he keeps scouting. He's like, ah, probably has a 3rd CC, but he's just gonna confirm it. Please tell me you confirm it. He confirmed it by seeing the late barracks, okay? He's not gonna confirm it. He doesn't need to, he's too smart. What does he do? Before adding any extra gates, he actually, see, he's still on 2 gates. He just goes straight into a 4th base. And he stays on 3 gas for a very long time. He has the 1-1 upgrades. And it's like, alright, I know your barracks aren't done yet. Your stim is about 2 minutes away from being done. I have till 8 minutes. I'm just gonna grab a 4th base, saturate the minerals there as well. Go up to 10 gate, go up to 12 gate maybe even, and then explode, you know, just go all out here. He has a lot of Stalkers, which I do like against triple CC. Usually I prefer having a lower Stalker count so you can get quicker to the Templar tag, or get quicker to the Robo tag if you so desire to. But in this case, I really like this now, because he scouted a very fast 3rd base before 2nd and 3rd racks. He went straight for this 4th. He can throw down 7 extra gates at once. You have this big explosion, but you only do this against this. Otherwise, you build your gates piece by piece, right? So in this case, he doesn't. Tries to do some harassment. Goes to a big gate count. Survive with 1-1. Go up to 2-2. Once again, he has pretty fantastic vision. 1 observer, 2 observer, both towers. He has vision with this Nexus as well. It isn't mining yet, but it's nice, of course. In total, he's going up to, let's say, there's 3 gates done. There's 9 gates done, and there's a couple more on the way, or no? Okay, no, so there's 9 gates right now on the map, which is perfect. Don't forget, he's on 3 gas, so he has pure mineral income, which should be rather high relatively soon. And you see, his worker count actually is lower than TY's, but because he's gonna get so many minerals soon, once he gets these minerals saturated, even though the worker count is relatively equal, he's gonna get way more minerals, which means he's gonna have a massive Zealot army. And most of the time you want to trade, so you hope the Terran attacks into you. And after a while you perhaps can take your extra gases, transition into double Robo Bay, double Robo facility and Robo Bay. So he gets 2-2. Should probably get a prism as well, because with this kind of style you always want to have a prism on the map. Zealots are very strong when split up. You always want to harass a little bit. He's getting 2 extra gases on his fort base as he's saturating it. It's very nice income. He's slowly catching up in that supply count, which is rare. His income is higher than a Terran, and Terran of course has mules, so that is very, very rare. And once his 2-2 finishes, he's like, alright, I feel like I'm safe enough at this point. I think I can start transitioning. And he starts his second Robo facility, and he starts his Robo. And this is a very, very good moment to do so. Now, another good thing that you want to do is you want to take map control at this point, because ideally you want to fight with 2-2. Either you want to fight with an upgrade lead, or you want to fight when your storm just finishes, or if you just have 2-3 Colossus with thermal lens. These are good times to fight. Before that, most of the time you don't really want to fight unless the Terran is attacking you, then you have to fight. But in general, you don't want to do that. You just want to kind of defend, sit back until you get one of those important upgrades in thermal lens with 1 or 2 Colossus, or 2 or 3 Colossus, or you have a couple of Templar with storm, or in this case 2-2 upgrades on your Chartlot Blink army. Now, right now TY is like, well, this is a lot of Zealots. I don't think I want to engage into that. Probably not before I have 2-2 myself, but once TY's 2-2 is done, he's probably going to be fighting against 2-3 Colossus, and he's going to have a bio ghost army. So I also wouldn't mind if TY pushes out with just 2-3 ghosts, the Raven and this army, and tries to kill him. And as Zest, what he would like to do in that case, because TY is a very big army, probably wants to do some kind of run buys, try to get him back. And if you don't have time to get the Colossus out, you probably want to get Disruptors from your robotics facilities rather than Colossus, because Colossus without thermal lens are a bit so-so, but Disruptors are very good units for staying alive. They're not great when you're attacking, but they're good at staying alive. If someone's pushing into you, you're doing run buys, get your Disruptors out, alright? Very useful unit. So Zest is setting up run buys right now, moving his Stalkers forward, trying to probably delay this push out a little bit. He sees the push happening, he's like, alright, I have a bunch of Zealots, 10 Zealots, which is good. Always want to do your Zealot run buys, especially against Terran with big Zealots count. Like, of course you can send 2 or 3, that's fine, but I like the against Terran get like 10 or 12, because against their rally, if you send 3, it's just gonna die. If you send 10, you're gonna keep killing the rally over and over, and that's kind of what you want. So TY trying to hit a little bit before he had his own 2-2. Zest realizing this, starts getting Disruptors. And don't forget that this game started with Zest losing 10 workers at like the 4-minute mark, the 4:30-minute mark. And look at the position we're in now. Zest, sure, he's struggling to stay alive, but supply is even. He's up 2 upgrades. He has Disruptors against an army that is practically all in, because a run by is doing a lot of damage. And this is the kind of situation you can really set yourself up for, even if your early game isn't pushing it, which is very nice with this build. Once again, especially on the larger maps, you can get away with this kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'd recommend staying on one fort a little longer. Yeah, Zest kills every single SCV, and from there on out, it's pretty much going off. So, I'll put all the replays in the description. I might write out the build order if I'm really feeling it. And if I'm not really feeling it, then someone else might do it for me. Alright, I think that's it. Watch a couple of replays, watch the standard one. Enjoy using it on the ladder, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube. And see you guys next time. Bye bye.